Have you ever felt the sting of silence from someone who claims to want you? That frustrating moment when you sense his desire yet he withdraws, leaving you confused, even hurt. It's easy to assume indifference, but what if I told you there is a deeper psychological truth behind his silence? A truth that could transform the way you see relationships forever. Men and women are wired differently, especially when it comes to processing emotions. Women by nature are expressive. They talk through their feelings, seek connection, and find strength in vulnerability. Men, on the other hand, are often conditioned to value control, competence, and emotional restraint. This isn't about weakness or strength. It's about two fundamental different ways of experiencing emotion. So what happens when a man feels an intense primal desire for a woman? Not just fleeting attraction, but something deep and undeniable. Strangely, he doesn't always move towards her. Instead, he may pull away, fall silent, or retreat into himself. And this is where misunderstandings arise. Many women interpret this withdrawal as disinterest, neglect, or even rejection. But in reality, something far more complex is happening beneath the surface. From an early age, men are taught, whether explicitly or implicitly, that emotions can be dangerous, that losing control of their feelings is a sign of weakness, that getting too emotional, like getting too emotionally invested, can compromise their identity, their autonomy, their sense of self. For a man who has spent years compartmentalizing his emotions to stay focused on his ambitions, responsibilities, and stability, suddenly being overwhelmed with desire for a woman can feel destabilizing. His withdrawal then is not necessarily about a lack of care. It's a survival mechanism. He steps back to process what he's feeling, to regain his sense of control, to ensure he doesn't lose himself in the intensity of his emotion, lose himself in the intensity of his emotions. And here is a crucial truth: strong, intelligent, competent men do not like feeling out of control. They don't enjoy feeling exposed or emotionally raw, as though someone else holds too much power over them. So rather than dive headfirst into vulnerability, they retreat, not forever, but long enough to make sense of their emotions in a way that doesn't compromise their sense of self. This is the moment where so many relationships falter. Not because he doesn't care, but because his silence is misinterpreted. When a woman feels neglected, her instinct may be to chase, demand answers, seek reassurance, but the more she chases, the more he retreats. Now, it's not just his emotions he's managing, but also the pressure of having to explain something he himself might not fully understand yet. Men also have an innate connection to their sense of purpose. Their self-worth is often tied to achievement, to the value they provide. So when he meets a woman, he stirs something deep within him. The attraction isn't just about chemistry. It comes with a weight of responsibility. He begins to question, can I provide for her? Am I the man she deserves? Am I ready for this? If he feels uncertain, inadequate, or unprepared, his instinct isn't to discuss his fears. It's to withdraw until he finds an answer. You're getting that, right? And here's where the paradox lies. If a woman reacts to his silence with panic, desperation, or attempts to force a response, she may unintentionally push him further away. But if she does the opposite, if she remains grounded, self-assured, unbothered by his temporary retreat, something fascinating happens. His fear diminishes. His respect for her deepens. Instead of feeling pressure, he feels admiration, and he's drawn back to her, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. I tell you, men don't want to be needed in a desperate way. They want to be desired in a way that respects their autonomy. They want to feel that they can come towards you because they choose to, not because you demand it. And the more a woman embodies that quiet confidence, the more magnetic she becomes. His silence, instead of being a source of insecurity, simply becomes a pause. One that, when handled correctly, leads to something stronger. The truth is, men have an almost primal fear of vulnerability. It's not a conscious decision. It's not. But a lifetime of conditioning. The world tells men to be strong, to be in control, to suppress emotions. Vulnerability threatens that. It exposes them to the possibility of rejection, inadequacy, or failure. So when a man truly desires a woman, not just physically but emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, he stands at a precipice, one he never fully prepared for. A man's deepest instinct is to protect himself from pain, not just physical pain, but the kind of emotional exposure that can shake the foundations of his identity. Because when he allows himself to love deeply, he is no longer just an independent entity. He becomes tied to something beyond himself. And that, for many men, is terrifying. It is terrifying for many men. This is why so many men struggle with emotional expression, even when they feel deeply. They've been taught that emotions can be exploited, that showing too much feeling makes them weak. So they repress, suppress, distract themselves with logic and silence. Because to fully acknowledge their emotions would mean facing a vulnerability they have spent their entire lives avoiding. Now imagine what happens when a man meets a woman who shatters his emotional equilibrium. She isn't just another attraction. She's someone who ignites something real. He wants her, craves her, but at the same time, he resists. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. If he lets you go fully, he's opening himself up to a level of vulnerability he may not be prepared for. And so he hesitates, he pulls back, he goes silent, not out of apathy, but out of self-preservation. This is the paradox of desire and fear. The more he craves closeness, the more he fears losing himself in it. His hesitation is not necessarily rejection. It's an internal battle between longing and self-protection. Most men won't even recognize this as fear. They will rationalize it, telling themselves they are too busy. You get it? They will tell themselves that they are too busy, that they need time, that they are not ready. But deep down, the real struggle is with vulnerability and the weight of responsibility that love brings. A man doesn't just want to be with a woman he wants to be worthy. He wants to be worthy of her, and if he doubts himself, if he questions his ability to measure up, that insecurity manifests as distance. So what's the solution? It's simple, very, very simple. It's simple yet powerful. A woman who remains confident in his silence, when a man is silent and a woman remains confident in the man's silence, who doesn't chase, who continues to live her life without needing his validation, naturally draws him back. Because in doing so, she proves the one thing that makes her truly irresistible: self-respect. Self-respect means that she respects herself enough. Men don't want a woman who crumbles when they step back. They want a woman who stands strong, who knows her worth, who doesn't make her happiness contingent on their presence. That kind of woman is magnetic. She's a challenge, not in a manipulative way, but in the sense that she's whole, with or without him. And that's more than and that more than anything is what makes a man come back. That alone can make a man come back, not out of obligation, but out of deep, undeniable desire. Attraction isn't about constant closeness, it's about balance. It's about giving space for desire to grow. It's about understanding that real connection isn't built on desperation, but on the freedom to choose, to want something, but not need them. And when you master this, you don't just keep a man's interest, you become unforgettable. Please, if you do enjoy this video, I want you to give this video a thumbs up and share this video. If you have not subscribed, I wonder what you're waiting for. Please support your girl by subscribing, and if you have subscribed, you know you're my darling. So I'm going to be giving you this special gift, which is I love you, and see you some other time, and bye.